but not really.
Not begging. Yeah, I know. I know.
All right. Boa tarde, gente. Esse é mais um Fica em Casa, um Stage Lab. Durante esse período de quarentena, a gente vem achando o papel da Stage Lab e hoje a gente está aqui falando daquelas coisas que não vão mudar, que vão continuar acontecendo durante as turnês, que é a vida de um fotógrafo que segue a banda. Eles dois fugiram com o circo. Lembrando que a gente tem isso aqui, vai ficar disponível no YouTube e em podcast depois. Hoje temos uma novidade aqui, a Mirna Sodré, que vocês estão vendo por ali. A gente não pode ouvir ela agora, quer dizer, eu não consigo ouvir, porque eu estou falando, eu estou aqui no canal de inglês. Se vocês quiserem, vocês cliquem ali em interpretação e coloquem em português. Para isso, você precisa estar aqui na Simpla, na salinha com a gente. E isso vai estar disponível até às 17h15. Então, corra, Lola, corra, se você quiser participar com a tradução simultânea. Bom, eles estão acostumados com entradas secretas, tanto em local de show quanto em hotéis. Eles estão o tempo inteiro andando na van com a banda, mas não são da banda, não são da equipe técnica. Quem são essas pessoas? E eu tenho aqui hoje o prazer de receber Kat Benzova e John McMurtry. E agora a gente vai passar tudo para o inglês. So, they are very familiar with backstage entrances in venues and hotels. They ride in the van with the band, but they're not crew, they're not band. So who are them? So you're very welcome, Kat Benzova and John McMurtry. It's a real pleasure to have you here. So can we start with... That's great. So my first question is, how did you get here? Like in this life?
Do you want to go first, Kat?
Go ahead.
No, you can go first.
Ladies first. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been on the other side of a lens 10 years prior to before I became a photographer. So I started to get really familiar with the equipment, with photography in general, and I started to get more into loving being behind the lens. And sometimes I believe things happens for a reason, and I was at the right place at the right time, meeting the right people 10 years ago, and I landed a job as a Guns N' Roses photographer. Easy as that. It's a lot of hard work. It was a lot of dedication and really just concentrating on one thing, basically having a tunnel vision. Is like nothing else exists. Like, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna give it like 100% of my time and dedication. And I'm still here, and I'm still doing it, working with more bands, and I'm loving it, every single thing of it about it.
Thank you, John.
Do you want the long version or the short version?
You can go to the long one. I love the very beginning story.
That's good, isn't it? Do you want to hear that? Well, originally I was at art school, and I was studying graphic design, and I was shooting. I was doing a lot of photography, and I was in a band, and all my friends were in bands, and they were going to see Ozzy Osbourne at Hammersmith Odeon. And I tried to get a ticket, and it was sold out. So because I had a camera, and I thought maybe I could try and blag my way in with a camera. So I don't know what made me do it, but I called the record label and just said, "Hi, this is Rock Journal magazine. Can we have a photo pass for Ozzy at Hammersmith Odeon?" And quite a sort of rough person gave me a fax number, said fax in a request, and we'll get back to you. It was as quick as that. So I quickly made up a headed notepaper for a fake magazine called Rock Journal, faxed it to the record label, and immediately I got this fax back saying 7 o'clock backstage entrance to Hammersmith Odeon, pick up your photo pass. And it was as easy as that. So all of a sudden I was in the pit with my camera. All my mates were behind at this heavy metal gig, and I shot Ozzy, and it was the best experience of my life. It was amazing. I mean, I loved Ozzy at the time. I love all the music, And it was brilliant. It was brilliant. And that was a defining moment for me, shooting that gig and just saying, wow, this is what I want to do in my life, you know. And from there, I just carried on shooting bands and just shooting bands, and about 10 years of just non-stop, all the clubs in London, all the sort of venues up and down the country, the UK. I just shot every band going until I had a portfolio that I knew that if I went into a magazine, they couldn't really refuse me. So I kind of put it off for a lot of years. I got some great pictures, but I just sort of put it off. And then I got a job with Metal Hammer. This is where I'm shortening up the story. I got a job with Metal Hammer, and after about 7-8 years working with them, I was commissioned to shoot Iron Maiden, and I shot them a few times. And I think they really liked my photography, and we all got on. I think that's one of the most important things with tour photographers. You know, you've got to get on with people. And then I got called to do The Matter of Life or Death, and then, you know, we're here today, and it's like 13, 14 years later. And yeah, who knew that they'd be doing the tours that they do, you know? So I love it. I absolutely love it as well. And I think that's the big thing about it. But as Kat says, to get to that point, you know, it'd be lovely to say, oh, I know this guy in the pub, and he said, do you want to be Iron Maiden's photographer? It doesn't work like that. You've got to work so hard. And back then I was shooting on film. So I was spending thousands and thousands of pounds on film. You know, so you've really got to be committed. If you want to do something, just go and, you know, shoot as much as you can and be honest with yourself as well. How can you improve your shots and things like that? But that's kind of my journey to get there. And yeah, I love Iron Maiden.
And as you said about that, like, it's not only hard work, because there's zillions of amazing photographers in the world, but it's so many different aspects of being a tour photographer when it comes to getting along with the band, like being, you know, so they don't mind you around, you need to be their friend. Like, so you're flexible with traveling, that you're not forgetting your camera gear behind, and they, you know, they're late for their jet or something. You know, it's like zillions of other things that, you know, create that perfect bungle that it's, you know, a tour photographer, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Have you forgotten your camera then?
No.
It just sounded like a personal story.
But I know of people that keep forgetting stuff, and they didn't last long on tours.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. Do you want us to continue, Fabiana?
Yeah.
You know, that's the other thing. It's kind of sort of, I think a lot of people see the rock and roll world where you insert yourself into it. And obviously it's full of attitude, it's full of swagger. If you act like that, you're not going to really last that long, because behind the scenes, you're dealing with such incredibly professional people who are just superb at their job. So, you know, there's no room for somebody coming in and, you know, with a swagger and messing that all up, you know.
Yeah, this is something, I mean, this is, I think, the main thing about this conversation. How is it to be invisible backstage? Because that's what you have to be. You can't be something that bothers the band or the management or anything.
It depends how good the shot is that you think you're going to get. You know, it's kind of, a lot of times I know where the line is. You know, not stepping over that line. You're not in an artist's face all the time, clicking away. But it's anticipating what probably is going to be the shot. So say if I'm Maiden are visiting a temple in Korea, or, you know, we're in Moscow Red Square, you know, before we left there, I've already anticipated what the money shot for me, it's just a term photographers use, would be. You know, is the shot of sort of, I got this beautiful shot of Steve Harris in the middle of Moscow Red Square, and it was minus 15 degrees. No one was really going out. And the good thing was, I asked Steve, and he said, yeah, let's do it, you know. And it was brilliant. And we just went there, we did the shoot, and we got out. But it's also kind of, I had to persuade him because it was very cold, but I think there's a level of trust there. He knew that I wouldn't mess it up. He knew it'd be a great picture. And that's why, you know, I got him to do things. But there's definitely a line you must never cross. And I think you've got to be good at reading people's sort of moods and just the atmosphere around in different places. And if you think, you know, you shouldn't be doing something, then you just step back. But most of the time, I'm sure it's the same for Kat. The band forget I'm there. You know, and I just sink back and I can just shoot.
Respect. They, you know, I don't take it as like it's my job. Of course, it's my job, but it's like a collaboration of two artists, right? They trust you, you're gonna do a good job, and you try, you know, and it's that mutual trust and respect. So as you said, like you're not gonna drag them to a red square in the middle of winter for nothing. You know,
Yeah.
you learn how to be quick, not to waste people's time, like when to step back, and even if sometimes like that money shot, as you say, it's right in front of you, but you read the vibe, you don't step in, and you're like, okay, I could have had the money shot that could have been on a cover of all magazines, yada yada yada, and you're like, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth losing that respect, losing that trust, losing my job, you know.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And you can read it, you can read people, but there is nothing worse than when you're on tour and you go to bed one night and you know you missed a shot. You know that you should have, you know, not saying crossed the line, but you should have, you know, stepped up and said, hey guys, we've got to get this, or, you know, me took the shot. So it's that kind of fine line. So in the back of my mind, I'm kind of going, you're not going to go to bed tonight thinking you missed that shot, that great shot. At the same time, you don't want to go to bed feeling crushed because you've upset the lead singer of a, you know, the huge band, you know. So it's a fine line, and I think you learn it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little easier when you're out on tour with the bands, you know, when you work with someone for multiple years, because then even if that happens, you're like, I will try to maybe recreate it some other time. You know, when you shoot someone, when you're just in a pit for first 3 songs, or you're just working with someone for a short period of time and you don't cross that line, or you don't, you know, there's a lot of regret sometimes that I have to deal with. It was like, I should have done that. You know, I should have talked to them. I should have do the portrait of them that I wanted, you know, backstage, or, you know, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I think every photographer learns that, don't they? They get to a certain point where it just crushes you. It absolutely crushes you when you know you've missed a shot, or you know you should have done something to get that shot. You know, and that's maybe why, you know, we're in employment. I don't know. It's because hopefully 99% of the time we get the shot. Because, you know, going back to the whole, if you wanted to just hang out, drink some beers, and if something happens, you're going to miss everything. And it's yeah, that isn't what it's all about, you know.
Yeah.
It's about getting great pictures, isn't it? And making everybody happy.
But also, like, you have to be always ready. So I like always have my Leica around me, and even if we're drinking and, you know, just you know, having a cool time, but here's the right moment, boop, one shot, you know, put it away, like not you know, disturbing anything that is happening around.
So without nerding out, and sorry, Fabiana, go on.
Is there one single picture that still hurts when you think of having missing it?
I once turned down to shoot Oasis at the Marquee Club because I was tired, and it was before they were big, and I was like, I didn't really fancy doing it. And I also turned down doing the special effects photography for Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, Guy Ritchie movie. And they're my only 2 regrets. Yeah, but no, not an image-wise, I don't think. No, I kind of make sure I get it. Yeah, or if I didn't, I wouldn't tell you.
What about you, Kat?
Probably have a couple that I don't really recollect which ones they were, but I knew that I had a lot of like regret of not doing certain things, especially probably just being. It's a different when you're with a band that it's, you know, headlining or something, like you have the kind of the little power that, you know, in a way that you can ask, you know, shooting other bands. But a lot of times, like when you're in a festival and like there's another band's headlining, or, you know, you have like more a respect than when you can't find the manager. You don't want to go straight to the band a lot of times because you have that mutual respect of like, before I didn't care. I just showed everything, you know, and everyone, and they kicked me out and whatever. But now I have the respect of, you know, asking before. So a lot of times, like, I miss things because I can't find someone to ask permission to shoot, basically.
Don't you find that quite, sorry, Fabiana, but don't you find that ironic that the reason you've got the gig you've got now is because you didn't care and you stormed into places and didn't get permission, but as soon as you're kind of official, there's a different sort of line that you walk, isn't there? I'm the same. I'm the same, definitely on some things. If I was on a commission for a magazine.
Music industry, it's kind of small. Our world is kind of small, and the world travel really fast.
Yeah, exactly. I remember the old editor of Metal Hammer magazine in the UK. He used to say about me that I would quite happily get arrested to get the shot. And if I'm not working for the band, it doesn't really matter. But when you're working for the band, you
have a responsibility.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Have you been in a very tough situation with while you were in the journalist side?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I got arrested at the Maxwell House coffee factory in somewhere in Florida, maybe it was Jackson, Florida. I took Puddle of Mud, the kind of grunge band. I took them there to do some shots and stuff, and it all went a bit. I didn't get any permission. I took them in, and it was brilliant. All these smoking chimney stacks, and I could see the security coming. And I was just telling the band, "Look at me! Don't look at these security guys. We'll get the shot, and I'll deal with it." And I said, "Right, go!" And they ran, and I got detained, and it was good fun. But there's been a feu cases like that.
Wow.
You'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission sometimes. So. But as going back to Kat, when you're working for a band, obviously you don't behave like that.
Yeah, like how is it to make pictures from backstage, like from actual stage and backstage?
It's amazing. You kind of get in the shoes of a band, like receiving that energy that a band feels of the crazy crowd, and like everybody's basically projecting everything towards you, and it's incredible feeling. And then you look at it from different way. Like those are those photos that nobody else can get, right? Now in an era of, amazing cameras on phones and amazing, compact cameras, anybody can get that shot from, the crowd, but not everybody can get that shot from the stage. And it's a lot of fun, especially when it rains and, they're lights, and like you see the silhouettes and the rain and the crowd and the lights. It's incredible. You just have to be careful about not sitting on a pyro box by accident.
I mean, that's one of the things, we were talking about the crew, and you've all got to get on with the crew. The first guy you want to get on with is the pyrotechnic guy. He's the guy on the button. And there's many a show where I have to look at this guy, Keith, in the eyes and sort of say, he knows I'm walking up on the back thing, and he knows that I'm pretty good with my timing. It'll be just on the last note, and I'll be out of there, and he can hit it. But there's been a few times where I've glanced at him to let him know I'm there, and he's there on the button pretending to press it. And I'm like, it's scary times. So just as you go down, you feel the back of your head sort of singeing as the pyrotechnics go off.
I remember I started to work with guns. There was it was like first couple of shows, and I didn't know, so I was like hiding behind on stairs, and I was getting that shot when I just hear someone screaming at me and jumping on me and pushing me off, and the fireworks just exploded next to me. I'm like, okay, I need to write out every single song and learn when the cues when the pyro goes off.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to laugh about it now, but if it did happen, it'd be the end of our career, wouldn't it? I was doing Avenged Sevenfold, and
that's pretty, common too, when you just fall from a rope.
Yeah, I've actually done that. I've done that when I made and recorded a live DVD in Santiago. So I had a whole sort of all the promo for the album, the live album, all the album artwork, and I fell off the stage on about the fourth song. I just it was somebody had stapled up some black cloth over where there was a floor, and it just went, and normally before a show I'll go around the whole stage with a torch, and I think it was just one of those days where we were doing so much beforehand, I didn't do my walkthrough where I was going to go. And I went down, I thought I dislocated my shoulder, but it was okay. And my knee was knackered. And I got through it. The adrenaline got me through. But yeah, it's quite dangerous sometimes, isn't it? Yeah.
Always. When you have to run around, a lot of people don't realize if a band has one photographer and videographer. I don't know if you do videos too.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Me too. So It's like that band, you know, Guns N' Roses, for example, it's 3 to 3.5 hour shows, and you have to cover everything, right? For publications and stuff, people want wide shots of the entire stadium, you know, so you run up the stairs, you have to cue like what songs you have enough time that is not that much action happening on a stage to run up on the other side of the stadium, you know, on the top to take a wide shot of the entire action when there are fireworks and stuff. So it's that shot that it's going to sell and people want to publish, and when to run, you know, around. Like you
Sure.
have to be always all around the place.
No, everybody thinks that we're just kind of hanging out, waiting for something cool to happen. Yeah, I put something on Instagram, and I had a set list of Iron Maiden, and it was during their production rehearsal. I can run through the set list, so I, you know, sort of do a full run through. I know when the pyros are. I know when all the different sort of props come in, the scenery changes, and it's just notes. And you make a kind of, right, I'm going to shoot this from the desk. I'm going to shoot this from the walkway. I'm shooting from the back. I'm going to go up the top. And you're just timing it. And the amount of times you're walking through dark corridors and you can hear the song playing, can't you? And you're waiting for it to get to that point. You're thinking, I should make it, you know. And it's like, you go through some doors and it's like you've literally got 6 seconds before it's boom, you know. And then as soon as that's done, as you say, you're running all the way back to get the glory shots from stage with all the blinders up. And yeah, it's hard work, but good fun.
And some bands want you to be on a stage. For example, like when I work with Aerosmith, Steven wants me to be on a stage, be part of the, like, you know, be on stage and shoot from the stage.
And that's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I rarely get to do that.
I don't like it. I don't like to be I like to be the fly on the wall. I like to, you know, I don't like when people pose for me. And when you're on a stage, it feels like they come towards the camera. What's awesome sometimes, but sometimes it's just like, I don't want to be there.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started working for Maiden, they said, have you been hit by the bullet yet? And I was like, the bullet? And nobody would tell me what it was. And Bruce, who's the singer of Maiden, Bruce Dickinson, is the bullet. And basically, when he comes in between songs and during songs, he will come through the side bit of the stage, literally like a bullet. And I think there was once I was just standing there with my mouth open trying to get one of the other guitarists, and one of the guitar techs just pulled me out the way and you know. So yeah, but I would love to do that. But yeah, the way that band works, it's, yeah. I do a lot of remote cameras. Sorry? I do a lot of remote cameras on stage. So I will mount a camera on the drum riser with a wide, with a 20mm or a 14mm. And as I'm clicking wherever I am, it will transmit to that camera to do, that's how I get those big wide shots if I can't go up on the top. But I would love to go on stage and just shoot the perfect composition sometimes with the crowd. Yeah. Really lucky.
How was the acceptance of people working there? You were hired by Iron Maiden manager, right, John?
Yeah.
And you kept the same. But how was the acceptance in general for from the whole crew? And I assume that for a woman is a little more difficult, like a blonde, pretty woman hanging around with the band. It's a little. I would like you guys to tell this. How did it work when you get to be accepted and be part of the crew?
Shall I say from a male perspective, Kat, or do you want to say?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, from.
I mean, coming into Iron Maiden, it wasn't a difficult one to sort of deal with, really. But it is quite a tough club. You know, there are a lot of girls now. There's a lot of girls that are riggers, lighting girls, and which is great. But on the heavy stuff, I think it's very much a kind of male environment. The guys who lug in, load out of the trucks. Not that women couldn't do it. I just think it attracts a certain individual, and it happens to be guys. But there is quite a guys' club. But to be honest, most of the crew on Iron Maiden are pretty good. I mean, as I said, everyone's so professional, and I think there's an element of respect of each other. I mean, I went through a few periods of, maybe I trod on the odd curled up guitar lead backstage and, in the wings, and I was tested a few times. But, you get to know the crew. And I don't think I've never had a fight with any of the crew. That always got on really well with them, But there's an equal respect there. And I think that goes, you know, both ways. I totally respect what they've got, such a difficult job to do. And then I come along and say, look, during this song, I've got to shoot through here. And they're saying, well, that's during the guitar change out. I'm saying, okay, fine. Well, let's try and make allowances to how I can shoot, and you can still do a guitar change. But, you know, but no, it was pretty good, actually. Yeah. But as I said, I've been working with so many other different bands. I'm sure Kat was the same. So I'd kind of seen how operations work. And, you know, you just don't walk into those sort of things throwing your weight around and trying to upset anyone. I prefer to learn and find out who the individuals are. And once I know who is who, then, you know how to behave around them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, meeting the crew, like, you know, you introduce yourself, you tell them what you do, basically. But for a while, like when I started, I think it was about building that respect, even from the crew, because they had no idea who I was. Suddenly, you know, when I started, it was like 10 years ago. I was 23 and I was running on stage with a camera, and, you know, I was like, you know, people, I don't know. It was just on that crew, there was not, I think we were like 3 women. And I don't know, I just didn't feel accepted. And then our tour manager is like, from now on, you're Carl, the roadie. And, you know, you're not going to be, you know, you have to be one of the crew guys. Like, we're not going to wait for you to pack your bags or carry an extra suitcase of your shoes or handbags or whatever you need to bring. It's like, you have to, if you want to be here, you have to behave as one of the crew guys. I'm like, all right. And that was it. And every time like somebody disrespected me and stuff, you know, or didn't believe like what I was doing or how I got there, there was like, I think there was more of that kind of mentality, is like, how did you get this job?
But also there's a respect, isn't there, as soon as they see the sort of photos that you do.
Exactly. And it was like, look at my work, and then say something,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. But also one thing I will say, which is, I mean, you must know this, Fabiana, it's kind of, you join a tour and it's like a dysfunctional family. You know, it's like him over there might be a little bit crazy, but he's brilliant at his job, and, you know, whatever, you know, and you got her over there and him there. But you are just like a dysfunctional family. So when a tour ends or you come off a tour, you know, I miss them terribly, because, you know, we've all gone out for dinner, we've shared highs, we've shared lows. You know, it's a lot of your life that you share with these people, you know, and the band as well.
Quarters and a lot of time. Like, yeah, they're like people that you don't pick to be your friends. Maybe in a normal life, you will never pick them, you know, as your friends and to hang out with them. But like this, you're forced, and you learn how to be super flexible, how to have bigger understanding for different personalities and different jobs and different needs. And, you know, you're in a tour bus with another like 10 people, and, you know, and
you're gonna get on.
Mostly men, you know, and you have to learn how to, you know, I don't know, like how to deal with that.
You've got to get on. You've just got to get on, you know.
You really become friends. You become family because you share those moments together. If it's birthdays, weddings, funerals, like everyday troubles, missing your family, being away for a couple of months, you know, traveling nonstop, having jet lags, getting drunk, like you have, you know, you share your life with someone really closely. They know me better than my own family.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I learned
there was a lot in Iron Maiden, the Gadsby, when Iron Maiden lost Gadsby. How was it? I remember to have worked with them a little after, and it was still tough for them to be on the road without him. For those who doesn't know, Gadsby used to be one of the road managers. They were with the band like for 20, 30 years, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's you just bringing up his name made me instantly feel quite sad, to be honest. We all, we still miss him. And I think that's the thing, you build such a bond, and when somebody in that organization disappears, it can be pretty hard. I mean, Gadsby was, without dwelling too long, but Gadsby was one of those guys, he could sense when you were a bit low. And before you mentioned Gadsby, I was just about to say, I learned pretty quickly that nobody wants to hear your problems. So say if you've been up literally all night trying to upload shots to, you know, someone in New York or, you know, one of the magazines, and you've had an hour's sleep and you you're absolutely mashed, nobody wants to hear it. You know, it's just like tomorrow is another day. You get through it, you pick yourself up, and that's fine. And Gadsy, though, was one of those people that could sense, and he was the sort of guy that would put his arm around you and say, "Come on, you're going to be all right." And you know, and that was a real. He had it made. You know, as far as someone to be on the road, he was brilliant.
Such
he
a
was
guy.
brilliant. Yeah, and I think everybody misses him.
Yeah,
it
was tough. What was for you, Kat, like a challenging moment in your career, like something tension? I know John had some intense moments, like barricades, problems, and all. But do you have any moment that was quite tense and challenging for you?
I mean, a lot of times, one of the most challenging things that I find a lot of times on tours, especially in South America, actually, it's the security by the barricades. And it's so frustrating because a lot of times, like, they don't read, you know, the papers where the credentials and the photos, and they refuse to look at it. They're just like, no, you can't get in there, you know, and they push you. So I got to the point when I got a camera strapped with spikes on it, and I give a friendly push now to get them off me, and I run. I push and I run, and then they can't stop me because our main security guy is in the middle of there. So then he sees me, and then he say, you know, for everyone to, you know, calm down, that I can be there. Now I learn. Now I'm doing, you know, I tell them to introduce me to them before the show, so they know I'm gonna run in, because I have to shoot when the band is walking to the stage, and then I have to run under, you know, and start shooting the show. But it still happens a lot. And I remember twice a band had to stop the show. Once it was Guns N' Roses, one it was The Cult, to get the security off me. Basically, they just stopped the show and they just told them, like, I'm good, I'm with them. And they just refused to look at the credentials a lot of times. And that's a little frustrating because, yeah, I don't know if it's just me because I'm a woman, or if it happens to you, John, as well.
Yeah. Before each show, our head of security will brief all the security, and normally I will stay local if I'm at the venue, and I'll give them a wave, the head of security. And I normally find the head of security before each show, because it doesn't matter what credentials you have. You know, it just sometimes someone has been told that it's three songs for the photographers, exactly, and you're out. And then song 7, they see you snapping. They know how crazy the band will get if they find out someone illegally was shooting. So yeah, they're just, in a way, they're doing their job, but you know, sometimes they're doing it a bit too well, or yeah. But normally I make sure that they've introduced to me. But it's, yeah, I'd say it's quite frightening when it happens, because you're in the middle of your job. Yeah.
None of you are very familiar with pop or romantic artists. Usually the issues are more about beauty and youth. Like you can't make a picture of a female pop singer in certain angles, or even a male pop singer from certain angles. What are the restrictions in Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses, or Aerosmith and this environment? What are the pictures that are no pictures?
Oh, wow.
Right now, you kind of, when you know those bands, you know what they like, right? Like, as all of us, you know what you don't like about yourself and what you love, and like how, you know, as a good photographer, you know angles, you know how the people, from which angle they look the best, you know, with the lighting and stuff, to play with it. Because I mean, we're not, you know, paparazzi, like we're not. And that's what frustrates me a lot of times, you know, it's with this question. A lot of people, a lot of journalists that are allowed to shoot the first, you know, couple of songs, they intentionally take bad photos because they're easily sold for, you know, covers of whatever People magazine, or, you know, any tabloids. So our job is basically to make the band and the experience to look as best as it can, so people that are looking at the photos feel that they're at the show, you know, that are, you know, I don't know. So everybody,
You know,
every individual band and artist have things that they don't like about themselves, that they don't want to photograph because they have, I don't know, something.
you know what makes someone look good. You know,
Yeah.
you know what a good shot is. And I think that's the difference. You know, I think a lot of people who come into photography don't know how to edit. And I don't mean retouching. I mean just editing out shots that just aesthetically don't work.
Like, I don't Photoshop my photos. It's about finding the right angle with the right light when those imperfections, maybe, if you want to call it that, disappear.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm quite lucky in respect that Iron Maiden are quite a sort of man's man sort of band. You know, they're not that sort of touchy about how they look, or, you know, they are who they are. And, you know, I genuinely don't retouch Iron Maiden. But my edit is purely things like hair over the face, and if, you know, if it's a hot gig, there's a bit of sweat or something like that. You know, I'm editing out those shots. So yeah, you just know what is a good shot, and that's what makes the cut. Yeah, usually.
What makes us good photographers, and that's why we have the jobs we have, you know.
Yeah.
Talking about editing, John, how was it to do your book editing? Did the band took part of it, or
no,
your choices?
No, we were going to, when Iron Maiden first got the plane, the 757, when Bruce stepped up to be the captain, I'd sort of mentioned to Rod Smallwood, this would make an amazing book, wouldn't it? This is the biggest adventure anyone can ever go on. It's a rock band traveling around the world on their own plane with Bruce flying. And, you know, and as we looked at all the photographs from the first tour, it was starting to tell a really good story. And then, of course, they then did the tour again in 2009. So there was no time to do a book. And then we stepped off and did Made in England tour. And then what was the tour after that? And then Final Frontier, and then Made in England tour. So it was just so we did the book Somewhere Back in Time and the Final Frontier tour. So on the final stages of the Final Frontier tour, that was it. I'm getting very confused. I left the tour to put the book together. And it was literally, took me 3 months, like, editing all these pictures together. But the final approval for the book, and even Bruce's foreword that he wrote in the book, was all done in the grounds of a castle in Wales. They were playing in Cardiff Arena that night, and I took them to a castle to do a promo photo shoot. And at the same time, with my laptop, I got them to approve the 260 pages of a book, every shot, while Bruce was sitting on the floor with a bit of paper, writing out the foreword for the book. And then from there, I shot that show and then went straight to the publishers the next day. And it was like, get it all in. So it was crazy, but it was 3 months going through just hundreds of thousands of photos. Yeah. But they had to tell the story, putting together the story of the book. And no, I was just left to get on with it. And I think that's why so much respect to Iron Maiden for trusting me to do that. I really love them for that. They just let me get on with it, you know. And Rod looked through the whole book in his office in printout, and it was great. He made a couple of changes, a couple of recommendations, which were brilliant for some of the text. But yeah, no, they pretty much left me to get on with it, and it was good fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and you're in it as well.
Yeah,
that's another story.
Tell the story. Come on,
tell the story.
You can do it.
Yeah.
I need to have. I am in his book, and I didn't even know that. And that was one of those tense moments. I mean, challenging moments to make pictures of, wasn't it? How was it for you to make a picture of that moment?
Yeah, it was well, basically the pit barrier collapsed, didn't it, in Rio? And it's just one of those things, you know. Obviously, something wasn't right that night. But I've experienced something similar in '91. I was at a Faith No More gig, and the barrier collapsed, and I nearly died at it. It was pretty horrible. I lived to walk away, but it was, yeah. I've always kind of had one eye behind me in photo pits, especially when there's a lot of people. And at the Rio gig, you could see it was bowing. And just before it broke, there's a great YouTube video of me jumping up on stage, and Steve Harris is in the middle of playing bass, and he's just looking at me going, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be on it." And but it's and then you photograph what happened and stuff, and do it in a respectful way. It's one of those things, wasn't it? Thankfully, there isn't many incidents like that, is there?
Yeah. Thanks God.
Yeah,
there was a barricade problem, and then I had to go on stage to translate with Bruce Dickinson to tell people that show would be postponed to the next day. It was crazy. And
I think there was a bit of a language barrier that day, wasn't there? Because Bruce came out and told everyone that the show would have to be postponed, and everybody cheered. And then you translated and said, the show's not going to happen tonight, and everyone booed.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a language barrier, but also, I mean, he's an authority. People there love him, even if he's giving bad news. It's better to hear from him than from who's she.
Yeah, true.
It's funny. Let me see. I think there are some questions here. I'll open the camera and microphone for Marcos Hermes. Let me ask him. He's a photographer. He runs a podcast with me as well, and he's a great music photographer here in Brazil as well.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hi.
It's very cool to have you here. So I think I met you guys a couple of times in Brazil shooting in Rock in Rio, I think. So it's great to see you guys here again with my great friend Fabiana and everybody around. To be very honest, I have 3 questions.
Oh.
I'll try to be quick or be dead. Okay. The first is about mobile. I just want to know, how do you work with mobile with the artists, like doing videos, photography, and how do you divide the content that you got from your mobiles and your professional cameras? The second is about copyrights. I want to know, how does it work with each band? Like, how do you negotiate? Like, is it easy to, like, is it clear, or is it in an individual way? I became curious because you're talking about the books, and I'm always leading with my archives for editorial and etc. So I'm curious to know, how does it work with John in England and Kat in the US. And also, I want to know about pandemia. How you've been doing during those crazy days that we are living worldwide.
Ouchie.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's okay. Do you use a mobile phone, Kat? Is that what you meant? No, I don't. I don't use
my phone to shoot anything with the band. I always have my Leica Q on me. So everything that happens while we're I love that thing.
Such a great camera.
I always have it on me. So wherever we are, even if we're in a van or we're, walking around the town, that's what I shoot on. Like, I don't take my phone out, and that's what I shoot my videos and photos with. Because, you're hired by the band. I'm a professional. Like, it would not be fair towards the band.
I mean, sometimes I'm pretty jealous of everyone with their phones, because you've got all this kit, and you've got lenses, and you've got a rucksack, and you've got a computer, and you've got hard drives, and a lot of time I would love to just have a mobile phone, but it will suck. It'd be great, for a quick release on Instagram or something like that. But the reason we've got the gig we've got is because you need to deliver shots that have some mileage. It isn't just going to be for Instagram. It can be used for a double page spread, or a gatefold sleeve on an album, or a billboard, or a poster promoting a live show, or what have you. Phones is a no for me. I'm not I hate them, but I respect it. I get it. I totally get it.
But what's really sad nowadays, when everybody has a good camera on their phone, and that a lot of good publications, they're not willing to wait a couple of hours to get the good shots, but they take the fan shots that are shot on the phone and they put in a Rolling Stone magazine with a story. And that's a little frustrating for us. I'm like, can you just wait a couple of hours? Like, it's not going to take long, you know?
Well, one of the, on the...
finish shooting the show and give you the shots and, you know, then do whatever you want.
Well, on the beginning of the Legacy of the Beast tour, we had this discussion because obviously in, you know, a few years ago, there was never spoilers when people shot on film and before the days of YouTube. A live show like Iron Maiden, nobody would see what the big reveals are and things like that. And it was great that a fan could go to a gig and just see it for the first time and just be absolutely blow their mind that, you know, the whole stage collapses and there's explosions or whatever. And that has all changed. But on the Legacy of the Beast tour, we talked about this and we said, well, let's play them at their own game. I was transmitting to a desktop as I shot in the pit, the first song, because the first song, Legacy of the Beast, has this massive Spitfire, which was the big surprise for the audience. And we wanted to beat everybody onto the net with it, with pro shots. So as I was shooting, by about the sort of fourth bar into the song, I was already wiring shots out and we fed them out onto the net. And it felt so good to beat the mobile phones.
Because we do it on the last two Guns N' Roses tours, that I basically go under the drum riser. I have my computer and set up there. And after the first, I think like 4 or 5 songs, when I know I can take like a song or two off, I go and I edit a couple of shots and I send it to media.
Your ears. I mean, you're editing while there's a drummer above you. Is that right?
I have my in-ears.
Yeah, sure. But wow, gosh, that's dedication. That's excellent.
That way, you know, we're the first ones to get the photos out. So, but it's horrible that we have to fight this, you know. It's taking away my time from my work and, you know, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I was really pleased on the Legacy of the Beast because the shots we got out were just excellent. And those were the ones that everybody shared instead of just some kid that has taken a shot on his phone and it doesn't show off the stage set as good as it was.
Audio from a phone, you know, and and it translates, like it gives out the wrong message in a way too.
Yeah.
But
totally.
Let me ask you one personal question to this. But do you use your phones to make pictures in your personal life?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, with my kids and stuff like that, you know, I used to walk around and clunk into things with an SLR, and it's quite difficult when you're holding the hand of a 10-year-old, you know, a 7-year-old. But no, yeah, absolutely. I use my phone. I love it. I think it's brilliant that we all have the ability to shoot.
There was any more question? So let me open Juliana. Juliana is our content manager.
Hi, guys. Hi, Kat. Hi, John.
Hi.
How are you? Not getting too long on it, but Fabiana knows I'm the number minus a million Iron Maiden fan. So this is so huge for me. And I entered this business because of the fan base and everybody. I was president of fan clubs on Iron Maiden back when I was a teenager. And so my question is related to that. Several times we bump into fans in our jobs in production, and I would like to know if you guys have a shot that it's like incredible and unforgettable relating a fan, because I know you guys do not only document the band but also the fans as well. So I want to know if you guys have an image on a shot that is unforgettable regarding a fan, like a very stunning image that you guys got it from the fans.
Every single show. I mean, fans and the crowd is as important as a band on a stage. Like, that's part of the show. And, you know, the band wouldn't be there if the crowd wouldn't be there. And that's the only way to capture the energy of the concert is to take photos of the emotions of the people in the first row, or, you know, crowd surfing or any of that. Like, you can take a photo of the band on the stage. It can be taken anywhere, but the pictures of the crowd and the different emotions, like, you can't. That's why, like, for me, it's as important to take those photos. There's no one shot that I can talk about. there's always a couple of shots from each show that, you know, are just, they're the ones that capture the true energy and love and dedication and passion, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about, the fan base. It's brilliant. And that's why I love a world tour, because as you go around, all the different sort of nationalities that you meet and just the dedication, and it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I think one of the ones I remember most, I don't know if it was the greatest photo, but it's one of the fans I remember the most. During the Final Frontier tour, we used to have a Eddie that walked on that looked like this sort of, I don't know, space monster thing. And there was a kid in, was it Argentina? He built an absolute replica of the suit. And
I saw that.
And turned up at the hotel lobby. And it was just the most comedy thing ever. It was brilliant. I loved it. I mean, we took loads of photos. It was so funny. And that dedication is amazing. But
I hope you didn't take any pictures of me, because probably my pose was like, because that's me on a concert. I'm probably there.
That was in Sao Paulo. And that one guy who put his hand up and put his finger up in the air made that shot so cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was like 80,000 people or whatever it was. And
I'm around that picture. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. That photo.
But no, sorry, Kat.
For you showing that photo, that remind me one photo now when you're saying that. It was one photo of like similar to this, but everybody is flipping me off. Because
really?
Has their favorites there. Because Axel came up on stage and we had these games, like when everything was going fine, we flip each other off. You know, flip me off, I flip him off. And so one show, and it was in Brazil. I don't remember where exactly it was, but he's like, guys, this is Katarina, this is Kat, and everybody flip her off. And it was like, you know, 60,000 people, and everybody flipped me off. I just turned around, took a shot, and that's one of my favorites of the crowds for sure.
That's the moment, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, that is brilliant. But yeah, you know, a lot of times you kind of focus on the fans and you just wait for that defining moment, and it's just, I love it. I love it. That's what keeps me going, to be honest. I love the fans throughout the world. They're brilliant.
That's what I miss now, being home, like not having that energy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's coming away from your original question, Juliana, but that energy that the crowd gets, you know, and especially in the sort of South American gigs, that you can feel that power backstage before the band walk out on stage. It's no exaggeration. There is this invisible force that is coming from the audience as that buzz is waiting for the band to come on stage. And that you can't replicate that in drive-in gigs, or, you know, it's just, and it's, you know, we're doing what we can at the moment, aren't we, in the pandemic, but God, I miss that. Yeah. And it's the sum of all parts, isn't it, with a band and its fans. Yeah.
There's a question here from Ale saying that in 2016, this is for Kat. Kat said that the press shouldn't be there covering the concert because of the image protection of the artist. Did you have the same position before? You've been their photographer, Kat, and how was it?
I wasn't allowed to shoot shows, you mean?
Yeah, they're saying that you are in favor that press wouldn't be allowed to shoot because of image protection.
No, I don't know. I think like Guns N' Roses, I think like they stopped allowing press to shoot the shows for reasons that, you know, on purpose they took bad shots and, you know, it went all over, and it was kind of like, hey, we have a photographer, we'll send you shots, you know. And yeah, that's all I know about it. Like I'm not in, you know, charge of any of that, turning press away.
Okay, great. Temos mais alguma pergunta, Tati? Do we have any more questions? Ricardo here. Do you want to say hi, Ricardo?
Was that a question to any of us? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I'm asking if there is any question.
Me?
Put your camera on, Ricardo.
It's on, I did.
Ah!
Oh, it's Ricardo! How you doing, dude?
What's up? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
For
What you
those
eating?
who don't know, Ricardo used to be security for Iron Maiden many
Still
times,
is, I
and
think.
Bruce Dickinson as well.
Still is. Last time I checked.
Wow.
How you doing,
Yeah,
fella?
since 2007. Good,
Yeah.
good to hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, good to see you.
Hey,
When did we
I don't
last?
want to. Oh,
Oh, yeah. We were
last
in
time,
Rio.
right?
Yeah, Rock in Rio,
Yep.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good times.
Good to
Okay.
hear you. I don't want to interrupt. Sorry, but I'm here.
Okay. There's one more
Beijo,
question
Fabi.
from Marcos Hermes. Marcos, pode abrir sua câmera.
Just saying again, I'm curious to know what you guys are doing now during the pandemic. Are you working on your archives or planning some new projects? What have you been doing during these like crazy times?
Doing this.
Oh, amazing,
Okay.
man!
I'm producing some legendary limited edition prints that I've only been making 50 of them of various acts, and yeah, they look great. They look really good. But yeah, we're just trying to sort of work our way through this. Really, I'm doing a lot of things that I couldn't do because I've been too busy over the years on tour. So yeah, there's a few things in the pipeline. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of printing at the moment, which has been nice, which has been really good.
Do you print your own pictures at home? Like, do you have your own printer and produce everything by yourself?
No, these are. It's quite an expensive process. It's kind of cotton paper, 100% cotton paper.
Oh, okay.
It takes quite a long time to do the whole process. Really thick sort of paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Grammature, special grammature, and etc.
Yeah. So no, I'm working with a team of guys in a studio, and yeah, and I normally go in there and sort of get upset because they don't look right, and then once we get the print the way it's supposed to look, then we print off 50, and that's the limited edition run. So yeah, It's been good fun. It's been good fun doing that, but I can't pretend I'm not, missing, being out on the road or, doing all the other stuff. All the publishing industry is on its knees at the minute as well. So I'm kind of praying that when we come out the other side of this, things will pick up. Because, me and Kat obviously have had a good time doing this. We've seen a lot of the world, and I feel really sorry for any photographer who's just coming into this now, who's invested in a lot of equipment, and is aspiring to do some of the things that we've done, with other bands that are up and coming. And at the moment, there doesn't seem to be a light at the end of the tunnel. But I think things will work their way out, and they will come back. But it must be. I'm more sympathetic to photographers that were just stepping into this industry, and then it's just all the doors have closed. Very tough.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of slow down, for a bit. Like you've been constantly on a run, and like the life just like went by you super quick, like you're in a tunnel. But suddenly, like you weren't ready for this. So it's like you slam on your brakes, and you're just like,
Yes.
you're like, what's happening?
Crazy
So
time.
the first month was just waiting it off. It's like, it might finish, we might just get back on the road and whatever. And then another tour got canceled, they were rescheduled, and you just kind of, it took like 2 months, 2.5 months to really be like, okay, we're gonna be home for a while. And that's when you start to be like, okay, what's next? I still need to make money, yada yada yada. So you go through your archives, you start to think about projects, but it's you're used to those crowds, that energy, and there is a thing called post-tour depression. Like every time you get off tour, you're really low because you've been around thousands of people every day, like being around that energy, and suddenly it stops. So this is kind of like getting out of that post-tour depression and be like, okay, what's next? How I'm going to reinvent my job, my position, to not lose the creativity. And you just find different ways. Like I got myself a printer, starting to print. So far, like I'm just sending it to people that I appreciate as thank you, checking out on them, like how they're doing, because I didn't have time for any of that, and going through my archives, my equipment, trying to sell some stuff that I don't need, cleaning my computers, my hard drives. Like, I signed up with the gallery a month ago. So we started to work on an exhibition because things were supposed to open up here in LA. We planned something big to support like Crew Nation and, crews, basically music crews. But that, LA went back and went a step back, so we couldn't do it. But it's in a work. So I'm working on a big exhibition. Hopefully that's going to happen soon. Working on a book deal as well, and we'll see what's gonna happen.
Well, you were actually on tour, weren't you, when this started, wasn't it? Yeah. We were just building up to starting. Yeah,
we did it probably the last festival in the world. It was in Mexico City. Yeah.
But yeah, I heard about it. I heard about this festival. But also, I was booked to do Rio Montreux Jazz Festival. That was in May. So, and also Lollapalooza was canceled. So it's been crazy for everybody.
Yeah. I have another question here from Josie Killings. She's right there. She's a big fan of both of you, and you guys are an inspiration for her to start her photographer career. She would like to know, how do you guys see the current scenario for those who are starting photography, show photography, and dreams on working with great bands like you do?
Well, I think I kind of addressed some of that, didn't I, with, getting through this pandemic first. That's the most important thing. But going forwards, I think every music photographer coming into the industry needs to try and protect their rights. So there seems to be a thing now, and obviously I don't know what Kat's individual deal is with the band she works with, but with Iron Maiden, obviously they they have ownership in the sense that they can do what they do with their pictures for album artwork. We do a very good deal.
You're a photographer on hire, when it comes to touring with bands. And I think every single photographer that I ever talk to that tours with bands, you're a photographer on hire, and they own the rights.
Absolutely. But I think with photographers just coming into the industry where it's the first 3 songs are now in the pit, there seems to be this new deal that's coming out where you're signing away your copyright to the artist, and that's for no return. They're not getting paid for that. And if that continues, there is absolutely zero chance of music photography being sustainable into the future. Because, the way I've made my money, I can see Marco agreeing totally. The way I made my money in the early days was syndication. So if I had a great shot of sort of Kiss or whatever, John Bon Jovi, I could sell it on to several magazines in Europe. Obviously, that market is getting smaller now, but the internet market is still something that exists. But if you weren't able to do that, then, there's no way that you could sustain a business. So the most important thing if you're coming into the industry is to just maintain your rights. And I've walked away from shows years ago where it was a copyright deal. There's just no point in shooting it because the fee that you're getting doesn't give you that return.
But even now, even if you want to syndicate, like Getty Images or Wire Image created their contracts the way that you're basically getting nothing. You get few cents for, a photo, and it's not even worth for you to give them anything.
Yeah, it's a tough gig now, isn't it? I mean, when I started, the reason I fell in love with it, one, obviously because of the music, but 2, because I suddenly got paid quite a good amount of money for some shots. And I thought, wow, I could genuinely do something I absolutely adore and get paid a good return for it. But if that disappears, then, it's just going to end up being a hobby, which is, and if you want to go, you want to dedicate your life to it and maybe tour the world and really commit to it, that's virtually impossible on some of the, the money that music photography is giving you on the lower levels of shooting things. So, that's the hardest thing. And I hope,
And majority of bands don't hire tour photographers anymore because they get enough photos from press photographers for the first 3 songs or from the audience throughout the shows that it's enough for them to post on their social media and stuff. And that's, they're like, why do we need someone on tour? And somebody in a band or crew has a camera that takes a couple of shots, and that's enough for a lot of people. So
I mean, fortunately, I work for a band that appreciates you know, really good photography. They appreciate the power of one good image. You know, one image that encapsulates everything that they're doing, you know, goes such a long way as far as, you know, everything that
the older bands, you know, the up and coming bands or whatever, they probably look at it differently. So true.
So I say good luck with it, but I say, you know, negotiate tough if you're just coming into the business, and know your worth. You know, it took me a long time to know my worth, in the sense that I didn't think I was great at the beginning, but as you start to get better and better, and you know that you're a good photographer, just know your worth and don't sell yourself cheap. And most people will want your pictures because you deliver, you know. But good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic. Do we have any more questions? Tem mais alguma pergunta, gente?
I just have a comment, because it's the same story all around the world. Yeah, for me it's been crazy, because I've been shooting for 30 years the musical scene here, from metal to jazz and Brazilian music, and you know, so it's been crazy, because when my story is very similar than John, because in the beginning I made a lot of money with things that I really love to do. I'm still working on it, because I love what I do, but it's been really hard to say to new generations how crazy it is to start a career right now. But in parallel, I think the value of the image for an artist now is pretty much, you know, important than like 10 or 20 years ago, because no one survived without social media, and social media is based on images. So it's crazy how the market is in a way that people cannot make money with something so important for an artist or a company or a brand that support the whole environment. It's just a comment, but I think it's part of we are in the same world, so it's
yeah. Well, I'll keep this brief, but it all stems from the days when print media was king and the internet was so secondary. So when they used to do the syndication deals and make up the fees for the web was just, you know, it was hardly anything. And then as soon as the web started to overtake, for some reason, you know, that balance didn't shift the right way, and it's just stayed the way it was. You know, there's a few culprits in the industry that I won't mention here that sort of monopolized the whole syndication process, turned it into a syndication. But hey, that's another thing for another time.
Yeah, but it's like we see with musicians too, right? Like the amount of money they get from having their albums on Spotify or any streaming services, they get almost nothing. So that's like for a photographer to have their images syndicated to, you know, getting images or something like that. And for us, the only way to make money is basically to be on a road. The same is for the bands, you know, they need to tour to make money, because even as, you know, people steal music, they steal our photographs too. As soon as you have it up on social media, the bands don't want to use the images with watermark on. You know, nobody wants to use the photos with watermark. You post it on Instagram, boom. People take a screenshot of it, they print it out. Like, no, you know, not a lot of people wants to buy prints anymore, because they get it for free online somehow, you know, even if it's not a good quality. And that's how our jobs are disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one to protect. They call it a digital orphan, don't they? As soon as an image is, you know, orphaned, there's no metadata, there's no watermark. It's just, it's out there, it's gone. Yeah, sometimes it does hurt, doesn't it? Yeah. I was working with Ghost, and I found 140 websites using one of my portraits of the whole band as the official press shot. It just gone viral, and it was just, everybody thought it was an official press shot, and it wasn't. And I, you know, one by one, I had to write to everyone saying, "Can you please stop using it?" You know, it's. But we've got the time now, haven't we, Kat? So we can go after these people.
Hell yeah! Wait for the lawsuit, people. No, maybe.
I have. There's a question here from Ricardo. Can you hear me? I had to turn to my phone, so it's a little different now. There's a question here from Ricardo.
Ricardo smoking.
To John, yeah.
I thought it would be. Go on, Ricardo.
Do you want to make it, Ricardo, or I make it?
I can do it, no problem. Well, I just wanna hear from you, John, the experience you had to take some shots from Bruce after the cancer. So you showed to the world that it was done. It was 100%. The pictures you did in Mexico.
Yeah, of Bruce, yeah. I mean, that was an amazing experience, that, because, you know, I mean, most Iron Maiden fans know, you know, Bruce was having treatment, and nobody, you know, none of us knew what the outcome would be. And yeah, and halfway through the year, I got a call saying that we needed to illustrate the album, the new album, Book of Souls, which was based about the Mayan sort of tribes. And Bruce wanted to go into the jungle and discover Mayan temples and ruins. And yeah, it was crazy. And we flew out there. He's the fittest man I've ever met in my life. I cannot understand it. I mean, I was panting away. Ricardo will vouch for that. You know, carrying camera equipment up these massive temples so we could photograph above the treetops, and in the distance you could see the other Mayan temples. You know, it was the most beautiful experience of my life. But you know, although I was exhausted and sweating and feeling, you know, completely ruined getting to the top of this big temple, it was just so beautiful to see Bruce looking so well. You know, that was amazing, wasn't it? What an incredible experience.
And then, to show the world this, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then we put those shots out, him looking fitter than he'd ever been. And then, you know, I think it was the following year, wasn't it? Or later that year, we then went out on tour, and Bruce was sensational. So yeah, that was amazing. Absolutely incredible moment. Yeah.
He was incredible last time, by the way.
Well, he says his vocal range is bigger than it ever was, doesn't he?
It was
so amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing guy.
Yeah, it is. Fantastic. Okay. I think this is it. Thank you so much. Oh, 1 second. There is one more question. Go ahead, Tachi. It's for Kat from Tachi, that your pictures are not obvious. How is your creative process on creating your pictures?
How I create my photos?
Yeah.
I mean, I go with the flow. You know, you have, like, I believe a lot of music photographers, they have the special ability to connect with the musician, you know, and to see what's gonna happen. And like, when, you know, musicians lose themselves when they play, and for me, the priority is to capture that moment, you know, when they're deep in their, you know, in the music, when nothing else exists. So that's my priority, and that's what I try to capture. I can't hear you. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Fabiana. It's just gone quiet. Can you hear me, Kat?
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe we should just have a chat and ignore Fabiana. Oh, there you go. You were on mute, Fabiana. Yeah. You're on mute at the minute.
Guys, when Fabiana is coming
okay.
in the middle way, let me just comment something to you about Kodak One. Have you heard about Kodak One? It's a post-licensing platform. So it's good for you guys to control your images worldwide. I really recommend it.
Okay, I will check it out.
Kodak One.
Yeah. Okay.
That's good. Diogo is just saying that John is a very generous guy with Iron Maiden fan base, and he's showing his appreciation for this. It was a pleasure to meeting you in the barricades on the shows.
Brilliant, good. Yeah, I love it too. I mean, you know, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Yeah.
It
And if I wasn't nice to them, they'd throw stuff at the back of my head, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So, final thoughts for this? Kat and John, gonna leave your message here for the people that are listening to us.
Be patient, because music is gonna come back.
I mean, that's right. Yeah, it's going to come back. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. We've just got to all ride this out, and it's going to be beautiful when this is gone. And yeah, we just got to bide our time. But yeah, it's been good fun. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Bom, we'll have some news soon about John McMurtry and On Stage Lab. Keep tuned. Muito obrigada a todo mundo que está aí assistindo. Lembrando que todo esse conteúdo vai para um podcast e também fica no YouTube. A gente vai dar um jeito de legendar no YouTube para quem não fala inglês. Óbvio, a gente quer democratizar ao máximo o nosso conteúdo. Sigam a gente no YouTube e assine o nosso canal no Spotify, Deezer, onde você preferir. John and Kat, thank you so much for joining us. It was so fantastic. Mirna, thank you so much for a great job there trying this new tool. So great to know that we can speak English and have everybody understanding. Então, muito obrigada, gente, e até a próxima. Thanks, John. Thanks, Kat.
Obrigada.
Obrigada. Cheers.